Hello, everyone. We're gonna wait for some folks to join, so we'll give it a couple minutes. If you don't have something to take notes with, or a glass of tea, or depending on how the goal setting goes for you, you may want a glass of something else, go ahead and get that now. We have a little bit. We'll take a couple of minutes to let folks join, and then we'll get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm going to tell you some logistics shortly, but like I said, go ahead and get yourself comfortable. I just got a paper towel in case I start crying. All kinds of good things for today. I'm seeing some of my favorites are online, and I'm very happy. Although I can't see you, I'm glad that you're here. I feel you in spirit, and you're welcome to use the chat whenever you would like, to message with each other and to message with me, just to say hi. And it would be great if those of you who I don't know to say, hey, where you're from, what you're up to. Give me a borough shout out or location shout out in the chat. That'd be great. Awesome. And I guess I need to rename myself. Can I rename myself? Yes, there we go. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Yes, come through. ATL, Jamaica, all the places that I can't visit right now. All right, we're at 1:02. We'll get started at 1:05. So you have 3 minutes. Again, you'll need something to take notes with. You'll also need something to keep you calm and steady and focused. And anything else you might need. Like I said, I just got paper towel in case I start crying. So yes, Long Island, New York. How you doing? Yay. All right. Like I said, I didn't specify what you need to keep you calm, but I'm just saying whatever, it's all good. All right, I'm also going to, in the chat right now for everyone, we'll be using an online tool to get some of your feedback today. Since this is a webinar format and I cannot see you, I want to make sure that I can get your feedback, and I'll do it via the Q&A, as well as from the chat. So make sure if you're trying to chat with everybody that you have all attendees and panelists selected. If not, if you go to all panelists, I think only I'll receive it, but that's okay. I'll shout you out no matter what. So let's see what we have here. We have BK. Is JC, oh, Jersey City. I was like Junction City, but it's, I know where you live. Texas, by the way, Jamaica, Queens, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Mount Vernon, Harlem World, East Orange, New Jersey, BX, Bronx, New York, another Harlem, Long Island. Someone asked if alcohol counts to keep you calm. This is not a no judgment zone. I'll judge you after. I'm just kidding. Connecticut, let's see, Brooklyn, Phoenix, Arizona, shout out. Hi, Ben. Queens, Poughkeepsie, Westchester, Upper East Side, Toronto. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, so we've got 1 minute until we get started, and then we will rock and roll. Now, this is going to require you to do some introspection, and that's the purpose of this. We really want to get into what we did and then what we're going to do, and that's not always easy. So, oh, somebody said my sound dropped. Okay, hold on a second. I can fix that. Let me see. Does my sound better now? And if that's the case, give me a hands up, thumbs up, chat, say yay, something, so that I know. Okay, all right, good. If it happens again, let me know. We're living in the virtual world. And so, yes, Grace, let's be safe. Florida. Okay, so we are at 1:05. I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly. For those of you who are just joining, I'm going to repost what I put in the chat before, because that will allow me to get your feedback as we're going through this. And we'll be using a couple different ways for you to speak with me, which I'll get into in a minute. And I want to make sure that I don't lose you at any of your feedback. So 1 second, going into the chat, and you can click on that link or you can use the code that you'll see on the screen in order to participate. But once you get to the right place, you'll see the today's date and the name of the webinar. Okay. Oh, like literally my favorites are on here. I'm so happy. Even though I can't see you, it feels great because as you all know, I'm suffering not being able to see people because that's literally what I did. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. So you're here for the 2021 version of the MBBA Learns webinar, 2021 goal setting with Coach Paula. That is me. And we have a lot to cover. As you know, last year we did an hour. We had several people say we needed more time. And so I honored that. And especially after what we experienced in that year that we will not mention, just kidding, we'll mention it. I thought a little bit more time. So take as much time as you would like. I'm going to give you time to do some of these exercises. But what I want to do is to introduce myself and let you know a little bit about who I am. So I am Paula Edgar, and I'm the CEO of PGE Consulting Group LLC. For those of you who know me, and you may know that I've had a different business entity name. I actually just changed it, so I'm excited about that, and you'll hear more. I'm also a past president of this wonderful institution, the Metropolitan Black Bar Association. And all of the other things that you see here are my LinkedIn profile header, essentially the ways that I believe that I add value to this world. And so I encourage you to connect with me. And in fact, if you would like a couple of the resources from today's session, I have made them available on my website. If you go to my website, which is paulaedgar.com, and you go to the engagements, you'll see the today's session, and there's a couple of links that have handouts, and I'll talk about that more, and I'll also provide that to you after the session in an email. So for housekeeping, like I mentioned, we're going to be using menti.com. It is anonymous. It allows me to get feedback. I can share the screen to show some of your feedback. You can at any time send me something on the Q&A, and if you do have questions, you can use that at any point. You can use the chat to talk to me or to talk to each other, but I'll let you know the chat for myself will be harder. So use the Q&A if you have a question for me. Chat amongst yourselves, share the resources, anything else that you have, your feedback about what I'm saying. I'd love for this to be as interactive as possible for you. Okay, so let's rock and roll. This is what I'm going to ask you to do. So I want to go through a couple of things that I want you to think about, and then I'm going to open up the Menti tool for you to provide me some feedback about what you feel like you need from me during this session. So we're going to take, it's 1:08. I'm going to go through this for a couple minutes, and then I'll give you like 3 or 4 minutes to reflect. So these are some of the things that you're going to reflect on. Okay, I'll hold your breath. What were your top 3 accomplishments of 2020? What were your 3 greatest challenges in 2020? What did you learn from those challenges? Think about 1 to 3 people. It could be more, but at least 1 to 3 people who were supportive of you. It could be mentors, friends, family, strangers, whomever. Who in your network did not show up for you? What resources or self-care did you put in place in order to help you navigate what was the tumultuous 2020? And then thinking about what habits or challenges, physically and mentally, do you need to reflect on as you reflect on what you want to change in 2021? And finally, what can you commit to doing differently in 2021? So we're going to go through all of this, but these are some of the leading questions I want you to think about. I'm going to stop sharing. Actually, yeah, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a moment because I want to change the screen, and then I'll come back so you can see, hello, my new glasses as well. You will see if you're on Menti that the slide has changed, and it asks you what questions, comments, or strategies do you want addressed in this goal setting webinar. I just want a couple of heads up so that I can think about how I want to navigate some of the content for you. This should be as customized as possible. It's for us. I take this time to really reflect myself as well as hopefully help you to navigate your goal setting exercises. And we have a lot to cover, but much of it is you reflecting on what you've done and in what you want to do. So if you see now, if you go to that link that I put in the chat, or you can use the code, which I'll put in the chat right now to log on. I want you to take the next, we're at 1:10. I'm going to ask you to take until 1:13 at least to tell me, let me lower my volume. Hold on, sorry. Is that better? Maybe I get a little closer to myself here. Okay. Some says it's better, some says it's not. So I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to, okay, all right, good. Okay, so you're going to use the Menti tool, and I want to see some of the things that you're looking for. And then I'll share that. And then also, I'm sure some of the things you're going to ask for will already be reflected in what I'm going to say anyway, but how not to get overwhelmed if you have a lot of goals, how to push through challenges, how to stay focused at the pandemic, stuck inside last for another year, how to network and business develop authentically and effectively. Those are some good ones. Keep going. Keep going. Again, I'll give you 2 more minutes to do this. This is an important part of this, right? Like, what do you need from me? Why are you here on your Saturday for an hour and a half? And of course, it's because you want to see my lipstick. But in addition to that, what do you need from me? For those of you, again, who don't know me, I am an executive coach. I coach folks for a living. I also do training and facilitation for a living as a consultant. And so I love everything to be as customized as possible, because if I put things out of the box, it doesn't work for you. Let's see, how to work through challenges, how to network virtually, how to reinforce professional boundaries in a new work from home setting, finding balance, how often should we look at our goal list and reevaluate, how to rise above the detractors and haters, how to overcome imposter syndrome, using technology effectively, health, how to break bad habits, how to prioritize DEI efforts in 2021. Also my lipstick, see, prioritization right there. How to prepare for the transition back to in-person working post-vaccine. Staying on track with your goals when you repeatedly fallen off in the past. How to self-care in a virtual world where people think that you're always available behind a screen. How to start. Okay, those are some good ones. I'll give you another minute, and then we will jump into what you need to do in order to help me help you with those things. And then I want to reflect with you on some of what we have been through in the past year, because if I started going into 21 without talking about 2020, I'd be doing you and myself a disservice. How to stop procrastinating. Let's find out together. Again, I have resources, but I really hope that you will be utilizing the Q&A as well as the chat to share your own resources, because I don't think I know everything, and I know that together we can help each other. The collective of us is powerful. How to stay accountable to my goal to find a new job. Again, imposter syndrome. How to get more cases and still have fun. Dating. Yes, all those good things. Okay. All right, we're at 113. How can I reach targeted, focused new clients? Okay, so those are all great things in terms of your reflection. And so now, I'm going to share the screen again and talk you through some of the things that I've been thinking about. But also, before we get started with that, if you are not a member of the illustrious Metropolitan Black Bar Association, I do encourage you to join or renew your dues. One of the reasons why I do this for MBA every year is because I believe Black lawyers matter. I know that there are not only lawyers on here, so I honor that. But the Metropolitan Black Bar Association has been a connector, a facilitator of connection in the community for such a long time that even if you're not a lawyer, you can join as a non-lawyer member. And we do lots of things in order to edify our community, and this is one of them. So if you appreciate all of these things, someone messaged me and asked if they can pay for this, even though it's free. Don't pay for this. Please join the Metropolitan Black Bar Association. That's what my ask is from you. So 2020, last year when we did this goal setting webinar, none of us, unless if you did, had any idea about what we were going to experience, had any idea about how our worlds were going to literally change in months from when we started. And we are now in this abnormal landscape, right, where we are quarantined for the most part, because I have definitely been looking on Instagram and some people aren't, and social distancing. And that has caused a shift in who we are and how we have navigated. Why? Because of the coronavirus. I know I literally bought tissue because I know that this is going to be hard for me and for some of you. Coronavirus has made it that we can't see each other's faces. We can't touch each other the way that we used to. We can't be in spaces in the same way. We have had to look at who we were and shift. Literally, as human beings, we get power from seeing each other's eyes and our mouths. Anthropologically, it's been proven that we get a sort of a, not pleasure, but what's the word? Like a bolt, a joy from seeing someone else. And now we can't see our faces. Thankfully, we have these places where we can convene virtually so that you can see my face. I can't see yours right now, but I'm feeling them. And that's better, but it's not best, right? And so as humans, we need to be amongst each other. And the coronavirus has literally said, you have to stop, you have to pause, you have to self-reflect, because either you're by yourself or you're thinking about how you have shifted in this time. That was one huge shift in 2020. Another huge shift in 2020 that I could not do this webinar without reflecting on is the legacy of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and all of the other Black people who have been victimized by police brutality, all of the ways in which racism has reared its head in our society in the past year, really making us reflect on who we are and what we want, and what we will tolerate. There were protests, there were speaking up, there were law firms and other institutions that I never thought would say Black Lives Matter, saying that Black Lives Matter. This is not something new. Black lives have always mattered, but we really need to get to a point where we align about that and have our actions and our words connect with them. So there was a lot of pain in 2020. Many of you, I'm assuming, not all of you, but I know that many of you are people of color, and that means that the likelihood of the coronavirus affecting you more because of its disproportionate experience in the communities of color, as well as dealing with the trauma associated with incidents such as George Floyd's murder, have had an effect. So if you think about that and think about all the goals that we set for 2020, really, I want you to really commend yourself, because we're here, right? We survived 2020. God and whomever else you might believe in, we've survived 2020. And that in itself is an achievement. And so as I'm talking about goal setting right now, someone mentioned this in the post. We're still in quarantine. We're still dealing with all these things. And so we'll take this all with a grain of salt in that, and I want to let you see my face on this one more. If you got nothing accomplished in 2020, but you are still here, you still hit a goal, right? Survival is a part of our goal. We want to thrive. And I'm hoping that some of the things that I can reflect on with you today can help you to thrive. But just remember, we cannot kill ourselves literally trying to be all the things when we're navigating a global pandemic, right? Like I want us to be really realistic about life. And so there's that. And thank you, Justina, for putting in some of the deets about membership. If you see me mute myself, I'm trying to reset the sound without having to log off, because that would be terrible. Okay, so what you're going to do now is reflect with me. I see that some folks have joined just between the time that I had put the link in the chat. I'm going to put the link in the chat again on how you can connect with us on Menti and do some of the exercises, but I'm going to ask you some questions. So this part is really about reflection. All right, so you will see that the Menti question has changed. If my internet works properly. There you go. So I want you to, in 3 words or phrases, describe how 2020 was for you. Take a moment. We're at 1:19 Eastern time. I'll give you till 1:21. 3 words or phrases. So short phrases, either 1 word per slot or a short phrase per slot. Describe 2020. And why am I doing this? Because I mentioned before, we have to go back in order to go forward. And I want you to remember that if nothing else, regardless of all the things you're going to excavate right now, you made it. You're still here, and there's so many folks who are not here. And I honor that with all that we're doing today. So I'll give you another minute, and then I'll share the word cloud that will be populated from your responses. And I encourage you, there are now 70 people who are online. There are 120 something people registered to please, participate in these actions. Like we are doing a group coaching right now, a big group, but a group indeed. And I want to see what you are going through. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm seeing a lot. The biggest word right now on the word cloud is challenging. And yeah, to say the very least, right? So keep going. We got a minute. Yes, Michelle, it was a time to reset. I don't think I've ever spent this much time with myself. I don't ever think I've spent this much time with my family. And all of that was for good. And all of that was for, I can't wait to miss them again. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah. Okay. Let me share with you, and you can keep on um, reflecting. But here's what you're saying. So this is the word cloud that's populated. Again, you have 40 people responding right now. And I know that there are 70 people on, a little more than 70. Listen, like in 2020, you want to use the time and opportunity to vote, okay? So challenging. The words that are biggest the ones that are repeated the more are the ones that are biggest. So what do we have? Challenging, scary, transformative, depleting, revealing, busy, exhausting, grateful, strange, hard, discovery of what matters, awakening, heavy, eye-opening, galvanizing, enhance my gratitude, small spots of joy, self-care, confusing, tiring, emotional, anxiety-ridden, fattening. So, what bonding, hopeful, unpredictable, life-affirming, cycles of grief. So survival, stressful, hard, lonely, learning I can work remote, chaotic, exciting, awakening. So again, trauma, family. So there's a lot here. And I want you to see, because really why I love these word clouds is because it reminds you that you are not alone, right? Like we're all experiencing any and all of these things are correct, right? Like and I'm sure that from different parts of the year, it ebbed and flowed. It kind of did this. And that's all right. So I'm going to switch to the next question, which is this. If it actually switches, hold on. There we go. I want to see one accomplishment that you are proud of. This is not a word cloud. These are short statements. Tell me what you did that you were proud of in 2020. One thing at the minimum, but feel free to put as many as you would like. Yeah. Yes. So happy to have you answer things in the chat, but I'd love for you to do them on the Menti tool, so where the website is in the code. Also, for those of you who know me, but if you don't know me, I love social media. So at any point you can screenshot and tag either MBBA or MBBA and myself. I'm at the Paula Edgar on Instagram and at Paula Edgar on Twitter, Paula Edgar on LinkedIn, to talk about some of the things that we share today, on any reflections on your goal setting. I believe in sharing our experiences with others. That's one of the ways that we can be multipliers and affect change in this world. And Grace, shout out to you. That I'm Alive piece really hits home. It really does, because the numbers, as we know, are not, especially if you're in the city, are still increasing. And that is a part of what is so challenging about even talking about this now, right? Let's see. I bought a home, yay. I got into law school. I started journaling again. I graduated law school, invested in myself, ran a marathon, became president-elect of this illustrious, there you go. Hi, Carl. Held it together, did a virtual internship, got accepted to law school. Congratulations. Survived, created really fun and effective virtual events. Fabulous. Passed the bar. Excellent. Spending time with myself and my family. Yes. Finally had the courage to open my own law practice. Congratulations. Made an action plan to pursue law school. Fabulous. I hope that you are already a member of the MBBA because we absolutely can be a resource for you. Pass the bar, pass the bar. Shout out, shout out. Especially because of the bar passage or the way that bars were done this year. Even better, congratulations. Continue my creativity, mental stamina, transition to a new career, promotion and raise, survive COVID. Thank you for sharing that because that's the other piece of this. I know just because of the way that the stats are about this virus is that of course that there are folks who have experiences and that you're still here is again a blessing and we're so happy to have you on here. Um, Stay consistent working out with Jay. Me too. Thank you. That's why I have a little less fluff than I might have. I quit that horrible job. Yay. Started therapy. We're going to talk about that. Self-discovery. I didn't commit homicide or suicide. Listen, all the blessings, all of the blessings. I said today that my therapist saved a lot of lives. Getting kids through remote learning. Yes, I did well in my classes. Learned to cook. Bought a lakefront property. I can't wait to visit it. Even if I don't know you, I can't wait to visit it. Made it through a high-risk pregnancy and gave birth to my firstborn child. So these are like this. I do this because 2020, I think we all can agree, had some really, really jacked up times, right? But there were good things that happened. And the more that we reflect on that, the more we can realize the potential for 2021. So I won't go through and read everything, but I'll scroll through these financial goals. Switched jobs after 20 years, congrats. Regular workout, general counsel, had a baby, yes. Something that has to do with cursing. I was promoted, wonderful. Started walking every day, fabulous. Okay, so here's our next question. In 3 words or phrases, list 3 obstacles that prevented you from accomplishing the goals you had in 2020. And I'll stop sharing for a moment. So we are at 127. Let's do this until 1:30. Really think about this. What were the things that stopped you from meeting your goals? Clearly, global pandemic, right? But what else? Were there some things that are about specifically you or about your environment or about your relationships or about your mental state? What prevented you from meeting your 2020 goals? Because we have to figure out what those things were before we go into 2021. Okay. So we're at 127. I'll give it until 1:30 or until we get to about 50 responses. Shout out to the person who wrote racism. Facts. If you have not clapped for yourself, you need to clap for yourself. We have made it through that year. And with all of the blessings, we will hopefully make it through this year, but making it through 2020 should be a super duper accomplishment. But thinking about what prevented you, I will share with you in a minute or so what you have here. And again, once I put up the word cloud, if you have some reflections on that, you can put those in the chat and talk. I encourage you to talk amongst yourselves as well as to reflect with me. Okay, I'll give you one more minute. We're at 43 responses. This is the important part. This is an important part of this. Really reflect what about you and your circumstances, thank you, made it that you were unable to accomplish some of your 2020 goals. What was it? For me, it was meeting myself in a place that I did not necessarily prepare for. And what does that mean? That means that when you're an extrovert like myself, I'm a super duper AAA expert, or well, expert and extrovert. It means that a lot of times you use noise in order to not have to self-reflect. And I would say that that's one of the things that I had to confront It's like literally there was nothing to 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 keep me from having to reflect on myself. I was not by myself, but I was with myself a lot. And some of the things that I was able to do previously, like go hang out with folks and go to events and, you know, blah, 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 I couldn't do. And so I had to meet me where I was, right, Victoria, right? Exactly. The lack of distractions meant that I had to say, all right, who's this Paula, right? And some of the things that I knew about myself and love about myself, I continue to love, and other things I was like, whoo, no wonder you were avoiding them. And I can see from some of the chat that that resonates for you. All right, let me go ahead and share what you said on this word cloud. And then we can keep on talking about this. So here, look at this. Fear, of course, fear. If you feel like adding anything else, put it in the chat. What were you scared of? Why did you procrastinate? Fear and procrastination are the same thing. Oftentimes, fear of success, fear of what happens if I rock this out? What happens if I do this thing well is what procrastination is. If you don't do it, then you don't have to worry about the success and what might come from that. And so if you think about that being the antithesis of what you want, we got to get procrastination out of there. But a terrible manager, preach, because there's so many of them. Not knowing what I wanted. COVID, obviously, stress. Yes, inability to travel. Come on, y'all this is why I got my tissue, because I know that I'm not going to make it without some tears. Better planning, family concerns, racism, self-doubt, emotional exhaustion, mothering all the time. Yes, like literally call me anything but mommy at this point. Mental exhaustion, lack of time to focus, life happening, lack of a strong network, white people. I can't, sorry. Listen, remote work, health issues, yes. Anxiety, time, limited in-person contact, yes. I had visitors this week, shout out to Carl, shout out to Justina. And the hardest part was literally not being able to like run and jump and touch them, because that's what I was used to. Unknown future challenges, my own limiting beliefs. Let's get rid of some of that. Uninspired, waiting for someone else. Now, I know because a couple of people reached out to me before this to say, listen, we need to talk about relationships. Last year, we didn't do that enough. I'm open to talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's a full half an hour at the end of this, 15, 20 minutes, that is for you to just ask me questions, and I will just be responding to them in my capacity as a coach and someone who's lived life. But I love talking about relationships, and I think that especially now, the best part about relationship building, and I mean personal relationships, I mean romantic relationships, is that you really have to, unless you're not social distancing, find out who the person is. Right? There's a lot of opportunity to dig a little deeper, which we don't usually do as much, I think, which causes issues later. Okay, so now you'll see, don't answer this question yet. I want to talk about this, but I changed it because I want to ask what it is. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. Yes, fear is procrastination. So I want to talk about theme words. Those of you who have done this before know that every year I have a theme word, and every year I think you should have a theme word too. So let's talk about theme words. Why do we have to have them? All right, so we did that. Okay. A theme word is like a light, like in the harbor, right? So sometimes when I'm thinking like, I don't know if I should take this opportunity, I don't know, like I feel lost or sad or have you, I reflect on my theme word. And the best part about theme words is sometimes, like for example, my theme word for 2020 was limitless. And I was like, limitless, that's gonna be like limitless to the amount of money I can make, limitless to the goals I can achieve. But really now reflecting back, limitless was for me, I can't be limited is what I get from that, right? I am limitless. So you cannot limit me. You can't hold me in. I have to be who I am. My authenticity is important, right? And so that's what I reflect back on, but I like to project and then reflect. So it is a reminder of what you want to focus on, what the changes that you want. So you'll be thinking about how to make decisions, how to move to what you want, how to kind of keep you set. And importantly, all of this, everything we're doing right now is manifesting, right? So if you think about what you want to manifest in 2021, that should be a part of your theme word. And some people use like theme phrases. I like a word, something real boom, snappy is this. It can connect to a lot of different things, but I want you to think right now about what your word is. So it's 1:35. I'd like to see your word. Let's take until 1:37, and I'll keep walking you through some of my word reflection, but put your word on there. So my word for 2021 is connect, with the sub parentheses of to possibilities. Connect for me means connect back to myself. I think that I had a little bit of loss of Paula in the past, and I want to get her back. Also connect to opportunities, connect to other people. And again, we're in a global pandemic, but it means thinking about what calls am I going to make? Who am I going to reach out to who I haven't reached out to in a while? What do I want to learn about my inner self that will help me to achieve all of my goals? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be with in terms of my connection? So that's where connect came from. And it really literally just punched me. It was like, that's your word. Don't even think about all that. I had all kinds of other words. It was like, no, good try. This is your word. It kept coming back up for me. And so I like to have visual representations everywhere of the things that are important to me. So we're going to talk about vision boards a little bit later. But thankfully, I have a husband who's a graphic designer. And so on my social, you will see my social media that I'll have other ways to show you that connect is my theme word, including my Facebook header, which is pow, 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 pow. Photos by Jay, who we must all know. But if not, he is at Dos Ojos Photography. He took these shots this fall, and connect is my word. And again, to possibilities is a subtext, because I think, I don't know any of you who've seen, what's the movie called with Queen Latifah, last holiday, where she has a possibilities book. It really resonates for me, and I feel like it's just a vision board essentially. But I love, there's so much that's possible. There's so much possible when you reflect on yourself and who you are and who you want to be. So right now, there's 26 responses to what your word of the year, your theme word is. Again, if you don't know it and you really want to think about it, that's okay. But if you do know it, or something just came to you when I was talking, I would love to see what you have to say. We've got a minute and a half left for this. And let me see what's going on in the chat. All right. Let's see. Yes. Thanks, Jen. Let's see. What do you have? Yes, fear is procrastination. Oh, COVID-19 is the best X-ray machine. You see people for who they really are. Come on with the words. Okay. Listen, for those of you who are chatting, if you're chatting with all panelists, you're only chatting with me. If you want to chat with everybody, please make sure you set your settings to chatting with all attendees too. I would love for you to do that, but I will read for anything that's coming to me. There is some reflection on, I didn't need this much connection. LOL. I hear you. Yes, I love that movie too. See, there's so much that connects us to our experiences. Okay. I'm doing lots of because I'm really, I probably needed this as much as you did. And so I'm reflecting on that. I'm struggling with how to translate rich Auntie Supreme into a single word. Let's see. My theme word for the year is, what about fabulous? What about that being your word? Fabulous in all things, fabulous to all people, fabulous to my aunts and nephews. Rich Auntie Supreme is hilarious, by the way. That could also be, I mean, it kind of respond. I feel like diva comes from that, but it may not be what you want. But that's what resonated for me when you wrote Rich Auntie Supreme. Like delegate, yes, Angela, yes, we must, and we will be talking about that as well. What I know for sure, and I'm sure that you realize this here, is we take on too much. Why? Because shedding all the things from 2020, getting down to the basics made us realize that we don't have to do all the things. Okay, so let me show you your word of the day, or word of the year, sorry, your theme word, for what you responded to. Let's see. Look at all these words. Abundance, fearless, persistence, recover, consistency, doer, resilient, adaptable, thrive, strong, try, growth, powerful, delegate, maintain, courage, amplify. Oh, amplify is such a good word. I might steal that for next year. Support, grow, engagement, rebirth, excellent, soar, better, believe, systems, possible, reinvent, share, start family. Enjoy life and blessings. Fearless. Let's see, what is this? The yellow is hard to read. Rich Auntie Supreme, I love it. Resilient, adaptable, resilient. That's like all of us for 2021, right? Like, because we made it, that means we're resilient. Smarter than 2020. Brave, thorough, trust, decide, create, execute, love, opportunity, excel, restraint. Woo wee, yes. Maintain. This word cloud, your word cloud, really resonates. Impact, one of my favorite words ever. All of you know who were around when I was president of MBBA, that was my theme. Impact. I mean, what are we here for? We're not here to impact each other. Be, right? Sometimes it doesn't have to be, all the things. Be is enough, right? Hustle. Yes, come through with my love words. Invest, execute. Yes, peace, achieve. This is beautiful. So for those of you, like I said, who love the social, this is a good one to do a snapshot on. What's your theme word? All right, now we're going to get into the love of it all. So now I have two screens here that'll allow me to see what you're asking me. So if you have questions or comments as I'm talking, you can pose them now. I won't be sharing the screen for that, so you can say whatever you'd like. And then we'll get onto some other things later that you'll be responding to. But I'm going to get into some of my content that I want to share with you about goal setting best practices. Again, harder for me to read the chat or the Q&A when when I'm sharing the screen. So use this for this time, or you can put stuff in both places. I'm okay with that as well. And let's go. Let's see. Amazing is my theme. Well, Rodney, you're already amazing. So perfect. I love it. All right. Let's get into this. Okay. So the thing about goal setting, I want to say this again because I know some people have joined since I started, is goal setting in the best times is not easy. And often in our reflections, we will reflect on the things we did not do. Yes, we should do that. That's why I started you with that. But I want to think about, let's just say we have a blank slate, right? Let's just say I can do whatever I want in 2021. Okay. And with that, let's go into that thought process and thinking about strategies and what we want in our goal setting. I'm going to ask you to reflect on personal as well as professional, but your goal setting is your own. It can be whatever you need it to be. I have had folks, again, because I've done this before, share, right? Like my goal setting, my goal for this year is I want a divorce, right? It's whatever, well, that's not my goal. I mean, that's what was shared with me. Whatever you need in order to be who you need to be, that's what your goal should be. Okay, so let's jump into that. I will share one goal with you. I will share probably more than that, but one goal I have this year is one that I have had for the last 3 years, and it pains me to say that. It pains me to say it because I really, really want it, and that fear of procrastination that we talked about is part of it, but also literally the year that I was going to do it became the year of COVID and crying and homeschooling and all those things. So I'm resetting for myself as well as resetting with you. So, and it is, I want to write my book, and I'm going to write my book. And I'm going to ask you all to hold me accountable, which some of my accountability partners are on this, so I know that you will. But now that I've been able to right size a little bit on this navigation of virtual, there's so much that I want to do. We got to conquer the world. If we are not in this place of figuring out what our legacy is going to be yet, I hope that that's what you get from this. what are they going to say when you're not here anymore? What has been your impact on the world? That should be what we're looking for in terms of goal setting. And some of you, even if you're not thinking of it this way, for you, some of your legacy already is just your literal being brings joy to people. Right. And so I'm thinking of some of you specifically who might be not thinking about how you add value in the ways that I would want you to. And one of them is that you bring joy. All right. So this acronym, you may know, its goals have to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound, or timely. Like there's a lot of little different ones that go with this SMART acronym. And some people use SMARTer, some people use SMART-E. Listen, as long as you get the specific and measurable part and achievable, you should be fine. Right. So this is not, I want to lose weight. It's I want to lose 10 pounds by June. Right. This is not, I want to make more money. It's I want to be a millionaire by December. Right. So those are achievable. Those are specific. Right. And again, you can then add in additional details about what and how, but you got to make sure it's not just, I want to be happy. How do you want to be happy? How? What does happiness mean for you? I want to be in a relationship with who? What do they look like? What do they do? How will they add value to you? So I'm going to ask you later on for some specifics if you have them. And if you have not yet gone to my website to look for the resources, they're there underneath today's session, and you'll see the PDFs, and I will send them to you again after the webinar. I can talk. So don't fret, you'll have them. But this, my hope is you've already started thinking about some of the goals that you have. So if you'd like to, feel free to share with each other some of them, but it'll be opportunities for you to share them anonymously later on in the webinar. So again, if we're thinking about SMART goals, I want you to really be thoughtful about this. This cannot be, like I mentioned, I want to change the world. How? How are you changing the world? I want to be a better lawyer. How will you be a better lawyer? Will that mean professional development? Will that mean amplifying your brand? What does that mean? And it's the what you mean part of this, it's the specific part, the measurable part, the attainable piece. That's the scary part for many, many people. Do you have any tips on how to work on a goal like self-confidence, right? So yes, I do. My response to your question is this. When you are not confident, you need to know why, right? And so before I talk about what to do, it's figure out why. I'm not confident because I wasn't raised that way. I'm not confident because my parents told me that I was no good. I mean, I don't know, which is why therapy is one of the resources I'll be talking about later. I'm not confident because I had a manager who told me I didn't know what I was doing, but that manager is an idiot, right? It could be any of those things. So if you think about why you may not have been confident, and sometimes it's, that imposter syndrome, which many of you wrote about in your in the word cloud, it's wrong. I mean, literally the point of imposter syndrome is to make you feel like you're less than and you're not. And so for example, Beyonce, I can't do a webinar without talking about Beyonce. She uses an alternate ego in order to get herself in a confident space. Tasha Fierce. What do you need in order to get yourself in that confident space? Are you feeling not confident because you have not actually invested in yourself the way that you need to? If that's the case, a part of the goals that you have should not just be to gain more self-confidence, but it's to do the specific things you need to do in order to feel confident. Okay. And feel free, like I said, ask more questions if you need more specifics on that. So your assignment post this, right? Post this webinar. This is what you must do. So feel free to screenshot this. 3 to 5 goals for this year. 2 stretch goals. So not just like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. That might be for you a little bit of a stretch goal, but stretch goal is probably 15 versus 10. You know what I'm saying? What are those goals? What are you going to do? When we hit that last day of the last month of 2021, what will you be able to say I accomplished? What did you accomplish in 2021? Okay. So this is your full assignment. And again, it'll be emailed to you. So don't worry, don't fret, but write it down, because I want you to actually tell me about some of these in using Mentee. So some specifics. I want to make partner. Great. By when? December 2021. I want to earn enough money to what? Buy a house, to adopt a child. I want to earn enough money to feel free to take care of my family. I don't know, whatever it is for you. I want to join a nonprofit board. I want to meet 50 new contacts in the next 4 months. you see the last one is for me and hopefully for you too. Finally write that book. You notice I didn't make it specific. I'm just kidding. It is. By December of 2021. That's literally in terms of goal setting. I got it. Let's see. Oh, good. So what I said about being confident resonated. I'm glad for you. You have to, we beat ourselves up so much. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't lose that weight. Oh my gosh. Okay. Why? Why do I have folks who are not supportive who live in the home with me and who always bring me Hostess cupcakes? Yes, and why? Because it actually feels safer for me to be surrounded by some of this fluff because I feel like people aren't going to look at me as much. Or why? Because for my entire life, eating has been a coping mechanism, right? It's never just the thing. It's a thing plus what brought it on? How did it come to be? Or what are you tolerating? Oh, let me just share with you. Years, really, this was 6 years ago, someone asked this question. I think it was a webinar I was doing, and it was, what are you tolerating in your life? And if you reflect on that, and I hope that you will in the chat, when you ask that question, what are you tolerating? It is a whole nother hit. It's like not even, for me, it's like, oh my gosh, what are you tolerating? I tolerate stuff. So last year I had someone come to my home before COVID to help me and us and my family declutter. I tolerate stuff. I can gather stuff. And again, we're not hoarders, but we like stuff. And so having a lot of stuff can also be a coping mechanism. People order things and bring things in order to not have to look at who they are and what they do. Okay. And that might, for you, seem a little scary. And it was for me, especially because the woman who did the decluttering for us, you know, one of the things I made her do last was looking at my dresses. For those of you who know me and know I go out or like to go out when we could go out, I love new clothes. I love them. And that's something that I was bringing on. So we counted, I think it was 697 dresses that I had. That don't make no sense, right? Nobody else had a closet in this home besides me. I mean, I'm still not going to change that. But the point is that we said, hold this one. Do you love it? Like how Marie Kondo does, like, does this bring you joy? And we pared down to half of that. But again, now, and then I look at the clothes that I have, I'm like, yay, like I love the ones that I have versus just kind of collecting them to do that. So think about what in your life you're tolerating. What you're tolerating. Okay. So your assignment now is to tell me this. I want you, and the mentee screen is going to change, to provide me with 1 to 3 professional goals you have for the new year. And then the next slide after that, so it'll be first one will be what's your goals, and after that is what are the challenges to accomplishing them. So let's get into mentee again. And the slide will change for you. And it's not a word cloud, it's short statements. 1 to 3. So minimum 1, maximum is not 3, you can do as many as you want. What are professional goals that you have for the new year? So we're at 153. We're going to do this until 157, 6 or 7, when I'll start to share some of the goals that you have. So take this time of reflection while I check out what's been going on in the chat. Let's see. I have my accountability people telling me to write the damn book and then write the book. And if you don't write the book, I'm coming for you. Oh goodness, there's a lot happening. Thank you. Yes, I need to call. Okay, I got it. So I have people who are ready to pre-order the book. Thank you. Ariel, you can go ahead and be in a relationship with Idris Elba because now I've changed. Now I'm on to my homeboy from, you know, the show I've been talking about. Anyway, claim it, Ariel. Don't support her in this. Write the vision, make it plain. So somebody asked about what the cost was for the person who came to declutter in total. And again, I have a full house. I'm about to do a little, it's a full 4-floor home. It was $3,000. So, and unfortunately because of, thank you, S. Bridgerton. Unfortunately, because of COVID, she couldn't complete the process, but we were able to do some Zoom stuff with her to help us get there, but there's still work to do. I could have Marie Kondo'd your closet. LOL. First of all, I'm scared of you, the person who said that. I don't want you Marie Kondo in my closet. Okay, so I'm getting some stuff in here. Remember what goals are. They are specific, and they are measurable, and they are attainable, and all the other things in the acronym. So what I want is not just, I want to play baseball. How you want to play baseball? Who you want to play with? Like, what, if you want to grow contacts, how many contacts do you want? How you plan on doing it? By when? Let's be specific. Oh, this showed up as a work title. It wasn't supposed to. No, whatever. I'll manage. If I want to ask for additional feedback, then I'll ask for you to do that in the chat. Searching for a local decluttered service right now. So someone told me, and I'll see if I can find it, that a lot of the places who do like, what the heck is it called? When you're putting your storage, also have, some of them have declutter services as well. So that might be a good place to start. And also my favorite thing to do is just put up on Facebook or one of my other social medias and ask. But for me, it just was like, oh, I don't want anybody in my house, right? Like, that won't work. So it was hard, but I think it needs to get done, because when you have stuff around you, similar to when you keep weight on yourself, it prevents you from getting to what you need to get to. Like, once she started with the kitchen, which is where I'm sitting right now, which is where us as a family, we spend most of our time. It felt lighter. I felt like we were able to accomplish so much more because we started with the hub, and we went into each person's room and in all of our shared spaces, and then ended up with my closet, which whatever. In order to say, these are things you're tolerating. When you get rid of them, it helps you to achieve. For anybody who has joined in the meantime, we're using Menti to get feedback. And while we're looking at that, I'll share with you in just a moment. I'm going to make the personal goals. I'm going to change the option on the slide so it's not a word cloud, because I want to see the actual statements that you're making. So, all right. But I will share, actually. Yeah, I'll share now so you can see what you said. Yes, TaskRabbit, good idea. So put everybody who's sharing resources. If you're doing it to all panelists, it only comes to me. So you have to choose the drop down of all panelists and attendees. And that way everybody will see it. But please do share resources. Again, this is part of the magic of bringing convening people. TaskRabbit is an excellent, and then I guess you could make the TaskRabbit and say, like, okay, we'll keep all the windows open, fans on, you have to wear your mask, you have to wash your hands. You could make it what you need it to be, because I mean, obviously TaskRabbit still is a thing. So, okay, so let me show you. Oh no, you know what? Yeah, I'll show you first. So because it came up the way I didn't want it to, let me get in a little closer. New job. Be a panelist on 2 CLEs. Stop tolerating. Money. Amplify my voice. Own my space. Be a good supervisor. Take the lead more. Graduate with honors. Executive leadership training. Remove interim from your title. Make the dean's list. Get a YouTube channel. Start a business. That's CTFA designation. Hire another assistant. Further subject matter expert in weed and CBD. Grow private practice. Be more confident. Start side hustle. Double income. Make it a 1 to 5 job. Hire another assistant. Start a part-time solo firm. Improve my Spanish. Bien. Hire a law student intern. Hire another. Lose 4 to 8 pounds in January. Love it. Let's start with 4. See if you can get to 8. Again, we want it to be measurable and attainable. Don't try to do too much too soon. Okay, so the next question is this one, and I hope it's set up properly. Let me just actually check. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Before you answer, let me just check really quick to make sure that this is set up the way I want it to be set up. Yes, it is. And then the other one. Okay. All right, so good. We're all set. So now tell me more. And these again are sentences. These are phrases. Of the goals you just listed, and you'll see it on the screen now, what are the things preventing you from, what are the challenges that prevent you from accomplishing them? Be really self-reflective here. You said you want it. These are the goals. What are the obstacles or challenges that are in the way of accomplishing them? And similarly with how you're listing your goals, also be specific in terms of your response to the challenges. So someone who wrote life, I want more than that. What about life? What about life? Right? What is actually within life the challenge? Not having a plan. All right, so we're going to get a plan. The job market. What about the job market? Right? Because there are definitely resources here. Yes. So, okay, we're going to talk about some of these challenges because this is really where the magic is. You can say you want it, but let's figure out how to jump over the hurdle. Let's figure that out. I do not manage my time well. I often drop off because my attention gets derailed. Okay, so to me, that sounds like you might want to do some self-reflection on, is it just the you, and is the you, are there things that you need? So let's see, how old am I? I'm going to be 44 next month. When I was 35, I was at a New York City Bar Association event, where the person who does who deals with like lawyers who need substance abuse assistance, she came in and spoke with our committee, and she said, I don't just do substance abuse, I also talk about the challenges that lawyers have generally. And she said one of those is ADHD. And she starts talking and she was like, when you can't focus and when you're unable to sometimes form a sentence, hashtag. Anyway, and also when you are unable to sort of start and then finish something, you might want to look at whether you are just scatterbrained or actually you have issues that are going on. And in fact, for many people, there's adult onset ADHD. So she gave us a little bullet point quiz. So everything, it was like, do you do this? Do you do that? And I was like, there's a lot of yeses. Taking that, I then went to my doctor and said, I think that I might have ADHD. And when I went to my doctor said, gave me another little quiz, and he was like, looks like you didn't check on anything on the left side or the right side. And I was like, yeah. And then I started medication, and I can tell you half of what I have achieved in those last years, between now and then, has been because I have been able to understand myself and understand that I need support, and then use that support in order to do what I need to do. I also meditate in the morning. Like, there's a lot of things that I do in order to manage this. So one of the things I need to do better is sleep. I know that the folks who are looking at me, I know. But sometimes it's not just you, it's you and what you need in order for it to be, okay? Or for you to be your best you, all right? So let's go into what you said about the challenges. Not having a plan, staying focused, lack of formal expertise in DEI is an obstacle for my landing a new job in DEI. Yes, and because there's definitely some ways to manage achieve it and try to get it before you understand it yourself. Now, I don't necessarily, because I do DEI as my role as a consultant, it's important to have subject matter expertise, but you can gain that. And you can also gain that a lot on the job, but there's a minimum level of expertise that you can get through perhaps becoming certified with Cornell. They have a virtual, what's the word called? Certification, I can speak, that you could do. You can also, again, fake it until you make it by moderating some panels with folks who have expertise. You can learn, do training. We'll talk about some resources that are coming forward. Negative self-chatter, doubt. Myself, also fear of my health issues returning. I'm afraid that I'll get very sick again, so I don't make long-term plans. For the person who said that, my response to you is this. If right now you're in a space where you are healthy, if right now you're in a space where you're able to even think about flourishing because you're in a healthy space, then do that. A part of I think how our bodies respond is our minds and our bodies are connected. So to the extent that you can be focused on your health and focus on the fact that you are in a place where you can think about next steps, do that. If you have to then respond to something changing, then you can do that. But it doesn't make sense for us to not think forward thinking in the most positive way. Not being physically in the office is a challenge to knowing upper management. Absolutely. Likely I'll be in a Zoom chat with them or slim, whereas easier to roll up on them in the office. True. But rather than think of it being serendipity, plan, invite. Say, I'd like to take 10 minutes to talk to you about X, right? Do that. Money, so I have to budget and save to pay for these things. Certainly. A friend of mine just talked about, she did the $5 challenge last year. she goes, every week she saved $5. Again, these are smaller things but achievable. But she was like, I have $700 something, and she's like, now I'm going to take that to pay off a credit card. You have to, for whatever it is that the issue is, there's probably a resource, right? And so rather than thinking you're by yourself, you're not by yourself. That's one of the reasons why we're convening now. People have resources. Ask what folks use to do X. How do people do these things? I have a fear of being seen and or saying something wrong that isn't adding value to the listener. Me too. However, you got to override that. You have to be in a space where you are confident, or at least express your confidence. And then you're also open to feedback. I wish you would have done X. I get that all the time. And then I can incorporate what those changes are as we go forward, not asking for help. Key. You have to ask for help. None of us is here by ourselves. And even if you are physically by yourself, you have a community. Right? That's like I said at the beginning, so I love MBBA. I'm not an extrovert. It's very hard for me to reach out to people I don't know how to generate business. I will tell you right now that introverts and people who are introverted extroverts are better at generating business than people who are extroverts. It might seem like because the extroverts are like, pow, 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 that they're better. They're not. They're folks who are strategic, and many times introverts are, because they don't want to do it, are ones who do it better. And so looking at business development is really, who's in my network? What do I do? How do I add value, and how can I connect that for them? What are the ways that I can get in front of them, both directly as well as sort of tangentially? Asking those questions, where am I? Where can people find me? Is what I want to be found for, does that resonate? Am I showing up in those spaces? Oftentimes people who are doing business development have not asked themselves those questions. They just want magic to happen, and magic can happen when you make magic happen for yourself. Let's see, time or lack thereof. Nope, time is here. We have the time. We have to prioritize, right? Because I said to myself just the other day, Paula, you certainly took the time to watch all of Bridgerton. Okay, what happened to the next chapter of the book? Now, again, I'm not saying you got to choose those things, but don't tell me it's not, you don't have time. You have the time. It's just how we use the time. My organization has a budget deficit. I worry about my raise that was promised me for next year. I was promoted in July. We're working this year as a director without a new pay scale. So one of the things that you can do to make it not come off of the sort of table in terms of the conversation when it comes to raises is to make sure, right, you infuse it into your dialogue. So as you're having your weekly one-on-ones or bi-weekly one-on-one, whatever it is, you say, you know, as I'm really focused on my promotion and the sort of the things that are going to happen as a result of that, I've been doing X, Y, Z. Right, so that they can't be like, oh, I forgot, I said I was going to give you a raise. Now, if organizationally they're not going to be able to make it, that's a whole nother thing. But if they are making choices, and one of those choices is to make sure that they provide those raises, then make sure that it doesn't fall off the table. Oftentimes we get scared to talk about that, but you should just be like, my expectation this year is X. And I want to make sure that what I'm doing aligns with your expectation for me, so that there's not any confusion going forward. Okay. Self-doubt about my qualifications as an entry-level lawyer, as well as a recent law school graduate. Okay, so for those of you, and there's many of you who are talking about self-doubt, here's the thing. When you apply for a role, when you jump into your confidence space, the only thing that can happen is really putting you back to the place that you thought you were. Or you can actually be in the place that you were in. Most of the time our self-doubt is wrong. It's that imposter syndrome showing up to try to make us do something that we don't want to do, or make us be somebody who we're not. And so if we could just be like Tasha Fierce, I don't know, Tasha Fierce Esquire, and say, let me try to do this. But if you truly know, like, forget about self-doubt, but like if it's self-actualization and self-knowledge that you don't have some of the skills that you need to have, then what are you doing to get them? That's where that's where you got to be. And so, because this is what I always do, is I talk a lot. I want you to provide me with 1 to 3 personal goals while I keep talking about what you have said. Let's see what you're talking about in the chat. Okay, let's see. We got some hellos. Some folks who are resonating. Oh, thank you. Day 43. LOL. LOL. Lack of patience. Yes, there's some other people who are messaging me saying that they feel like they also have ADHD. again, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just an acknowledgement and the ability for you to get it checked out and to figure out what you can do. And if you don't have ADHD, then there's also other things that you can do to make yourself focus and be better at this. Yes, so the person who reached out to me, please text me or send me a message later, and I will connect you with some resources that I have. Netflix has cost us at least $1 million of personal finance growth since they started streaming without breaks. There is a break. You can hit the pause button. It's fine. It's fine. Says Sylvie's Love was amazing. It was very nice to see a romance that didn't have me like wondering what was going to happen because of racism. So, yes, look at these goals. Keep on going. So, these are personal goals that you're putting in there. I want to lose 40 pounds this year. Pow, pow, pow. Kill it. Get it. Good. Yes. I love these goals. Are very specific and measurable. I want to finally get into a romantic relationship. Well, the kind of relationships where you're in otherwise. LOL. Just kidding. I'm literally cracking myself up. But yes, agreed. I would like you to get even more specific. I would like to get into a romantic relationship with somebody who I was able to connect with in a deep way because of our virtual connection that then amplified our physical connection. And we have shared goals and shared experience and whatever the specifics are. We have the shared religion. We have, shared things that we want to do. But I know specifically when we talk about romantic relationships, you can't just be like, I want to be with somebody, because you might end up with old, okie doke, and you don't want that old okie doke. I couldn't. Yes, I love that rich auntie supreme. I love it. I love it. So maybe your word is abundance, right? Because that can be abundance of travel, abundance of space, abundance of, like, it can be all of those things. Or just use rich auntie supreme as your theme phrase. Yes, yoga meditation every damn day. So I have started doing my vision board, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And I have been very, very specific in that because I realized my last year's vision board was actually incomplete, which says a lot about 2020. Womp. So some specifics: self-care. I have on mine to be better at sleeping. I also have mine to be better at saying no. Lose 15 pounds by July 30th. For some of you, that could be starting online dating, spending more time with your kids. For me, I spent a lot of time with my kids this past year, but it could be spending different kinds of times. Like, I thought to myself, for this year, I would like to read with my children, and not just my younger child, but also share book recommendation and reading of books with my older child who's in high school. Okay. So let me see. Oh, these goals are fabulous. Look at this. Prioritize romance and intimacy with my husband. I will steal that as well. I also want to prioritize that. And I don't need to share the screen with you. I'm going to just read some of the things that are coming through. You guys are wonderful. I want to start a healthy, intimate relationship with someone that shares my values and wants to have a family. I want to Marie Kondo my home by the end of Q1. I want to have more patience, be more active again, increase my productivity, pray more, start a business, focus on house goals. I really want to purchase a home. I want to reduce my debt by 3/4 by the end of 2021. I want to redirect extra money to investments. I want to get rid of 10 to 15 pounds by April of 2021. I want to purchase a home by the end of 2021. I want to begin trying to conceive. Put a date on it. Put an action on that. Right? Because I'm not sure if you're meeting with someone like intimately or doing it with another process, but you should be specific there. I want to pay up 5 credit cards by the end of this year. I want a new job with $100,000 more in salary base. Yes. I want to improve my French and Spanish by committing to my Duolingo app. Meditate and journal daily. Stay safe and lose 30 pounds and be happy. Love it. Again, how do you want to stay safe? Like, I'm going to forego that vacation to Tulum, right? I want to, let me see, what does this say? Prioritize myself, certainly. I want to open up accounts for my 5 grandchildren and save a minimum of $2,000 each by the end of the year. Awesome. I want to walk more each day. Okay, So you see the slide is going to change. What are the things that are preventing you from hitting your goals? So this may be similar to the professional ones, but usually it's a little bit different, especially the weight loss ones, for those of you who said weight loss. So take a moment and do that. And I want to start walking you through some of the goals best practices again, because I realized that I jabberjaw. Abundance was my intent word for last year. Yes, I love it. Yes, 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 yes. I'm glad that some of your respective goals are resonating with each other. What are the challenges? COVID for dating. Yes, and yes, and so yes, you probably don't want to be intimate with somebody you don't know who has not been tested. But you could be tested and you could do that together. And you could decide to add people to your pod so that you have a safe pod and make sure that you can trust the people in your pod. But I'm hearing a lot of feedback about the power of deep connection through virtual dating. So there's a benefit there. We just got to find it. It's not the same as the benefit of being able to physically connect with someone. However, it is a benefit. So let me go back to the slides while you were putting on the challenges. Okay. So as I mentioned, you must be specific in the goals. It's not helpful to just be like, I want to be healthy. How? What? Like for me, I had to start taking medication this year for something that I did not want to start taking medication for. So my goal is to not have to take that medication after this year. And that means I'm going to exercise. That means I'm going to eat better. That means I'm going to hit the goal of me losing the pounds that I want to hit in order to not have to take that medication, right? Having an accountability partner. So sometimes people will think of that automatically as their spouse, but usually it's not. Accountability partner can be your spouse, but you want somebody who's not as invested or can't be swayed by you, if you know what I'm saying. Tracking your progress. At the beginning, someone asked the question about how to make sure you're sticking to your goals. One of the things that I like to do is at the beginning of the year, like right now, is to put into my calendar a goal check-in. The other part of this is I have my vision boards, and it helps me to see my goals at the same time all year round. Things that mess you up when it comes to goal setting are these: trying to do too much at too many times. So I would love for you to just say, for the beginning, the first quarter, I'm going to choose one personal and one professional to focus on, or two, right? But not like all of it at one time, because then you'll get overwhelmed and wondering why you're not able to achieve. So, right, making sure that you have a deadline in terms of the measurable piece. And if you have a setback, and we all do, like, listen, who hasn't had the Hostess cupcake? I know I'm supposed to be losing weight. Things was a really bad day. No, just me. Anyway, the point is that we're human, and humanity means that we're going to make mistakes. Humanity means that we're going to have great intentions, but our impact might not be what we want it to be. So a great way of having momentum is celebrating your wins. So rather than saying when I get to hitting 10 pounds, I'm going to be like, yay, you need to celebrate every single pound and half pound that you lose. Rather than saying I'm going to only celebrate when I hit the goal at work, celebrate the things you're putting into place to get to those goals as well. Okay. So I'm going to go into tools and resources, and then I'll ask questions. And I know that we're supposed to end at 2:30, and anybody who can't be on after that, that's all good. But if you want to stay on and we're still talking, I'm happy to stay, because guess what? I'm sitting here in quarantine. Anyway, so resources, calendar. I don't know how people live without calendars, but I literally, every single thing that is of importance to you in terms of you checking in with yourself or doing something must go on your calendar, period. All right, stop. When it comes to managing your to-do list, I have found that waking up early and starting to do, there's a book called Eat the Frog. The big thing early is a huge piece of productivity. And then if you've heard me speak before, this is like a little bit of my productivity Bible, is the Pomodoro Method. Pomodoro is essentially the process of taking chunks of 25 minutes where you do nothing except for one task. So you focus on that one task for 25 minutes, and then you take a break, and the break could be either 5 or 10 minutes, and then you repeat. You can either go back to the same task or start a new task for another set of 25 minutes. So you don't use your phone to track this. You use an actual timer. You shut off all of your announcements and other things, and you only focus on one thing for the 25 minutes. It is so powerful when listen, you commit to doing it, especially if you do it early in the morning, you will kill your to-do list. Why? Because especially for those of you who said you have ADHD, it literally helps me to manage. But even if you don't, like, it is just a good way of not being too overwhelmed. Like if you say, I'm going to write for 25 minutes and then do so, you can say for the next one, I'm not going to write anymore, right? I'm done. I did that today. You can say for 25 minutes, I'm going to meditate. Or 25 minutes, I'm going to work on this project for work. Whatever it is, it's not so long that it feels not doable, and it really helps you to do that. And you can run those chunks of time throughout the whole day, or you can say, I'm going to Pomodoro for the moment or for the morning, and in the afternoon do something different. But it is powerful. Okay. Journaling. Now, this is not my jam, but I know that for other people it can be. Literally writing down what your thoughts, feelings, experiences, challenges, successes are is a really powerful way of setting intention. And so if journaling works for you, please do use it. And don't think you have to have an actual book to journal. You can journal, you can use a Google Doc and journal, just have an entry for every day and kind of have a running list. You can absolutely do that. But it's powerful. It doesn't work for me just because I think of it as another task, but I know that there's a lot of people that does work for. There are a trillion project management, project planning tools. Here's some here: Asana, Trello, Monday, which I just started using and I love so much. Jira, which we use at MBBA. Helping with project planning can also be your own self-project to-do list that you can work on using some of these tools. Many of them have free trials, or also if you're only the one using it, it's free. If you're a team, there's more, but it can be very, 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 very helpful. And I have links for you in my follow-up email. Time, etc. So there are at least 4 or 5 of you who said that you want to bring on an admin. So this is what I use. So I use a virtual admin service called Time, etc. Again, I'll send you the link. I'll send you my referral link, so don't click on it yet. And it basically says, like, here, you want 20 hours for the month for somebody to help you. This is how much it costs. You want 60 hours. This is how much it costs. And then you can have as many admins under that hour or those time frames in terms of 20, 60, whatever it is. So I could say I want to have 4 admins on my account. One who's good at research, one who's good at calendaring, one who's good at X, and one who I will want to talk to and have them write what I dictate, all under the same service and as much as you need. And so I really love it. It's been very helpful for me. Also Otter. So because I want to write and I want to produce a lot of content, but the actual physical writing, like actually putting the hands to the keyboard, for me can be a challenge to overcome. I use a transcription, online transcription service, which is, it's web-based and it just transcribes what you say. So it's like, talking into a recorder, but it's helpful. So I can be like, I'd like to write an article about, goal setting, step 1, and then it transcribes what I've said. And then I can send that to my virtual admin to clean up the transcription, and then she can send it back to me to add anything else I need to make it into an article or blog post. It is powerful, powerful, powerful. Again, I'll provide you with my link. I have become a big podcast listener to her recently because I love to kind of hear people's way that they're thinking about different topics and managing different events and thinking about strategies and challenges that they're going through. If you are now on Clubhouse, that is basically, I think of it as like the Clubhouse rooms as little podcasts too. So there's a lot of different ways for you to take in content and do better, including LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Skillshare, YouTube. There's no way that you can tell me there's not resources out here for you to be better at whatever it is you need. So let's go to the next. For weight loss, Fitbit, I have one, tracking your steps. There's also, oh my gosh, I wanted to write down the name of the app and I just forgot what it is. Where you can track your food and your fitness at the same time. If you remember, put it in the chat for everybody else. What is the name of the app? Shoot. Anyway, or track stuff on a spreadsheet. Literally, I this morning did my my measurements to say, okay, well, on this day, my waist was this size, and I want to see it through my muscles, workout, and all that stuff, how it changes. I believe in daily motivation. I try to be that for people, but I also get it from other places. Using apps like Shine Text, Momentum, like my what's it called? My browser has different quotes that help me to feel better. I like to read inspirational books. There's never going to be a time when I don't talk about how much I love Oprah. But the last two here for me are the clutch ones. If you don't have a therapist, and again, I know that there's a financial piece of this, but there are also resources that are available that are very low cost. Please, 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 you need to do this. Knowing that we are probably still for a little bit going to be in this world of virtual and figuring out the pandemic, it is so important for us to take care of our mental health. So whether you're using one of those where you can text, I think it's called Talk something, I can't remember what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. That, or actually asking friends for a referral. There's what's the word? Oh my gosh, I'm having brain freeze today. You can see, you're seeing my ADHD show up. It is Black girls therapy, or therapy for Black girls, and then there's like a therapy for Black men. Now I'm thinking about it, the names of those should change. It should be Black women. But anyway, where the resources and referrals. But please, 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 we have to take care of ourselves. Like, having that mental health taken care of is the direct connection to all of the successes that we need. Okay. Before I get into your Q&A and anything you want to ask me specifically, I want to remind you, you have to love yourself and forgive yourself. You're not going to be able to do all the things at all the times whenever you want, because you're creating change. And my therapist, God bless her, she says growth begins where comfort ends. So what we need to commit to is being uncomfortable so that we can grow. And we think about this, what are you willing to give up to accomplish what you want? Because everything requires a little bit of a sacrifice. And so what are you willing to give up to get what you want? Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing because I want to look at you again. I'm willing to go to bed an hour earlier. I'm willing to drink one less drink a night. I'm willing to do 10 extra push-ups. What are you willing to do? I'm willing to, take on extra projects at work or volunteer so that I can be seen in a different way. Okay. Yes, Talkspace. Thank you. Life app. Love it. There's also Headspace, for those of you who know that I love, and yes, MyFitnessPal was what I was thinking of. Headspace for meditation. There's so many. So whatever resources that you all use that you find to be helpful, drop those bad boys in the chat so we can help each other. All right. So I want to go back to, if you look at the mentee right now, I'm asking you the question about what commitments are you willing to make to achieve your goals in 2021? It's anonymous, right? Because that's important for you to be able to be vulnerable and to tell the truth without your name affiliated with it. But before you answer the question, think about this. What are you currently tolerating? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to do differently to achieve the goals that you're going to set? You can't be the same person. You can't do the same things and try to expect change. That's not how this works. Okay. So while you're doing that, I want to talk about vision boards. So we're at, why do I always do this? Okay. I hope that some of you can stay on, but yes, calm and insight timer. Oh, for those of you who want to do Headspace is similar to Calm and to the other meditation ones, but if you're in New York, they have headspace.com/NY, and it's free for New Yorkers, at least part of it. And they won't know if you're not from New York. Anyway, I didn't say that. Okay, so let's go on to talking about vision boards. And I'm going to actually show you my one that's in draft right now. And again, like I said, I know it's supposed to end at 2:30, but I'm going to keep going. So, and I will share the recording. So for those of you who have to jump off, I get it. But if you want to stay on, I'd love to engage with you and answer some of your specific questions. So, okay. This is the resource I'm going to be giving to you about how to put together your vision board. So let me show you mine. So this is my current vision board in draft. So connect is my word of the year. And then I have different parts of it. So this is my work, this is my workout, this is my travel and self-care, and over here is relationships in general, which includes relationships with my spouse, as well as my children and my friends. And then in the middle is just kind of a running, keep yourself motivated piece of this. So here's what it looks like right now. I do this every year, and for some of you who have been on, you've come to my vision board and work workshop in person, but clearly we can't do that this year. This is how you do this. On the left, you have the different areas of your life, and you kind of sit down and sort of taking notes. This is what I want to do. I put my theme word here, and these are the things I want to do better. These are my goals in these areas. And then you port all of that by using cutouts, stickers. I've used most of mine with stickers this year. You can print things in order to have a visual representation of what your goals and your what you want to accomplish for the year. I can't tell you, I'm going to try. It is so powerful to see this in action. It really is, because when I feel sad, I'm like, oh, I go look at my vision board. I take a picture of it so it's on my phone, so I don't have to worry about it being next to me, even though it will be, but it's also on my phone. For those of you who use Pinterest, I also use Pinterest to create vision boards. It is literally making it is kind of setting the intention, okay? So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna be here just for you. So you're gonna get this document in the follow-up email, so don't worry. So here, let me look at what your commitments are. There's only 9 commitments on here. Don't make me fight you. I'm gonna be selfish and do what's best for me. I'm gonna lean in at work in my personal life. I'm gonna take a trip to Jamaica, hopefully when it's better and open for us to go in there. Stop making excuses, stop allowing others to dictate my time. I'm gonna wake up earlier and go to bed earlier. I'm gonna try to do that too. No, I'm not gonna say try, I'm gonna actually do it. I'm gonna prepare meals at home. I'm gonna exercise. I'm gonna walk outside. I'm gonna track my meals. I'm willing to commit to my healing. That's so powerful. I'm gonna be consistent. All right. I'm gonna switch to questions and comments. So now for the next at least 15 minutes, at least until you stop asking me stuff, ask me specific questions and I'll just start answering them. So let's see, you can either use the Q&A on this tool, or you can use the Menti. And let me see what you're saying in the chat. How do you use Pinterest to make your board? So you go to Pinterest and you just create a new board. I make it private at first, and then you pull in imagery for whatever it is that you're looking for. So like how I just showed you the squares that I do when I do a physical one, I do the same thing, and I just pull imagery into the board about what I want. You're welcome, Elise. Let's see. Vision boarding is awesome, awesome, awesome. For those of you, in case folks are going to start leaving, I want to make sure that you commit to yourself and do the things. I'm sending you several resources via email. And one of the things I'd like for you to do, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, is for us to connect on LinkedIn. There's a lot of things that I'm going to be doing this year, and I would love for your support and your engagement and helping me to be accountable. Shine text is not different from the Shine app. It's the same thing. So it just was a text that they used to send all the time. Okay, so let me see your questions. Let's see, did I move? Yeah. So you can either ask them in the chat or you can send them directly to me. So there was some that you said at the beginning. I'll start talking about business development until I get some more things. Like I said to you about business development before, you must say, where am I right now when it comes to the business? And then what do I want? So that could be either in contacts or in commas, like in money, how much I want to make. And then how am I going to do it? Oftentimes, especially when it comes to business development, your profile is not what it needs to be in order for you to get what you need, right? So if I'm saying I want people to hire me to be, because I'm a, I practice dog law, and nothing on my profile, nothing in my bio or my profile speaks to dog law, and I'm making a joke, right? But then I'm not doing what I need to do, right? And so you must think about what I'm saying, who's going to hire me? Who are my key clutch clients? How can they find me, right? And put those things together and then make a list. Oftentimes when it comes to business development, people also don't actually think about who's in their network strategically, which doesn't make any sense. I get business consistently for people who I went to high school with. Why? Because they love me. And because they love me, they give me business, right? So come on. Think about who's in your network. Don't only think I'm going to only connect with other lawyers about lawyering things. Everybody needs a lawyer at some point in their life. So question, boundary setting while working from home. Oh, okay, so there's a couple things. I'm gonna take that as the actual boundary setting being in the home, and actually boundary setting for people who know that you're home. Number one is when you're boundary setting for folks in home, you literally can say, if you have a door that's closed, this is my time, please do not disturb. And not enough people do that, like literally to say, I'm gonna take an hour for myself, and I need you to not bother me in this time. Try that. Similarly, especially if you have children, like they don't believe in a door knock and all that stuff. I say, for now, mommy needs X, and you need to give me this hour or this 25 minutes of me doing my Pomodoro. Boundaries for people who are at work or in other places, it's hard. For those of you who work in industries where people expect you to be on, it's even harder. So what I can say is this. I don't think, especially now that we're in this kind of COVID quarantine land, is people will not, generally, you might work for somebody who's terrible, but generally won't say, like, if you say I need an hour because I'm going to go and do yoga, I'll be back on, or I'm going to put my kids to bed and I'll be back on at 8 o'clock. They usually accept that. What they don't like is not having an understanding of what your boundaries are. And oftentimes we as a people tend to be scared to set those boundaries. So I think you just do and see how it works, right? Which is, I won't be responding to calls after 10 o'clock, right? And if you're someplace where you can do that, then try. Or I won't be responding to calls after 8, see how that works. But if you don't set the boundaries, then you're not honoring yourself and who you are and who you can be. So set them and see how it resonates. And again, because we're in this COVID quarantine space, we have a little bit of an excuse where people are like, yes, life is a lot. So because it's a lot, I'm going to hear that boundary. And if it's truly there and it's a problem, then they can learn to communicate with you differently to be able to say, that doesn't work here and this is why. And then you can figure out what you need. Because the boundary might be that you say, okay, if you need me on until 10 o'clock p.m., then from 8 to 10, I'm not, or whatever. Okay. Okay, I answered that. Should you set goals in all areas of your life or only set 5 or so? So I like 5 as a number of goals to set, but I don't need them to only be in one area. And when you're starting them off, you don't have to think about all of them at once. And like I was saying before, personal, professional, I would choose at 1 to 2 at the max to say I'm going to start working on. It is helpful if they all speak to each other and you can kind of get them to live together, but sometimes you can't. So for example, I would like to lose weight. Sleeping is also a goal that I have. In the sleeping piece, it helps with the weight loss. But I don't have to list them separately. They can kind of be sub ones of each other. They're specific. If each evening I'm going to go to bed by 11 o'clock so that I can wake up early and exercise, which leads to my weight loss, right? Things like that. For work, especially for those of you who have a new role, I'm committing to making sure that I go through the org chart to send invitations to meet people and to make sure that I have the opportunity to engage even though I'm not in person. And that could look something like, hi, since I'm new here, I'd really love to take 10 minutes to get to know who you are and to share a little bit more about who I am and to talk about our respective goals for my role and the organization, stuff like that. Any recommended resources to improve the LinkedIn page? I already Googled. Oh, good. I'm glad you Googled about the headshots. For improving your LinkedIn page, most of what people do when it comes to LinkedIn is they don't actually engage. They don't do the social part of social media, and they don't go back and check on some of the things to make sure it's up to date. So at a minimum in your calendar, as you're setting things up, January, March, June, September, December, those increments, is my bio up to date? Is my headshot up to date? Have I put in any accomplishments, any awards that I have won? Am I being social on social media? Am I connecting with folks by liking their content, sharing their content? Am I creating content? So LinkedIn will love you if you love LinkedIn. This I know for sure. Often, many of you don't have complete profiles. LinkedIn's rubric doesn't work unless you have over 500 connections. Oftentimes people will say, how do I get 500 connections? If you went to any school, you should be all set. And most of you have, right? So those are a couple thoughts there. What else do you have? Yes, I agree with you 100%. Even if you don't have other people in your home, still take the time. Take the time to say, I need to rest, I need a break, or, or I want to do something for myself, right? And that's important. Okay. All right, let me go over here. What's a healthy way to celebrate milestones towards your goals? It depends on what for you resonates. So there are some folks, and I also think it depends on what you think of as healthy. There are people who will say, when I lose 10 pounds, I'll buy myself a bag. That's healthy as long as you have the money to buy the bag, right? And I'm fine with that. It's maybe not as healthy to say when I lose 10 pounds and I'll, go drink a lot, right? Because then there's calories. But it might be, I'll have my favorite drink, one of them, right? It could be, I like ones that will say another good thing based on doing this. So I will allow myself to X once I have hit this goal, right? So let me think of one. If once I have reached out to, 30 people, like I've said that I want to do by March, then I will, what would I do? Yeah, a lot of mine are food based. Let me do better here. Then I'll allow myself to binge watch a show, right? Because then I'm not thinking of using the time as something that I'm wasting. It's more about saying I'm strategically using it in a way that I want to. It could be, once I've done, 5 days of reading with my kid, then we'll go out for ice cream. So it's something that you're doing together too. Let's see another question. Okay. How do I use LinkedIn when I have multiple specialties? I want to, okay, I won't read the specifics, so that just in case you didn't want that read. So for the person who just shared what they said, and then basically it's that they have multiple interests and they're trying to portray that all via social media. I don't know that you need to do that. I think the first thing that you have talked about should probably be your focus, especially if it's time bound. Like if you have to do that by X date, that should be one. But you can also show your expertise in that other area by writing articles, by hosting panels, by sharing content about those things without it being anti what you want, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's not an instance of being a jack of all trades and a master of none. It's being strategic about how you post and what you post in order to make sure that happens. How about dealing with the negative, toxic people I'm forced to work with? I don't know, why are people toxic? Why are people like this? What I'll say about this is that most people who you interact and engage with who are or come across as toxic are dealing with mental issues that they have not yet managed. So I like to think about engaging with folks who are not great in an empathy first space. Like clearly it must be terrible to be not who you are, but to be experiencing what you're experiencing. And you don't have to say that, but if you start with that as your thought, it helps you to engage with them easier. And also, this is a good place of managing up. How can I be less annoyed by how they show up by doing these things in advance so that they are not triggering as much to me is a helpful thing, right? So if somebody is really nitpicky about, that you use 2 spaces versus 1 behind what you're doing, you can start off by putting draft on everything, right? So that it's not expected to be the final. Now, if you know it annoys them, don't do it in the first place because then it can help you. But there are just some ways to kind of make the way that we communicate with each other better, better and different so that we support ourselves in our interaction with people. And also, when you find resources that are helpful and things that are happy and things that are, inspiring, share them. And you can share them with the BCC group, and the BCC could only be the one person because that's the person who needs it. When you say like, hello all, I'm sharing this with you, and really there's just one person in the 2 on BCC, you know what I'm saying? How do you deal with a micromanager for a boss? Micromanagers are not confident. Micromanagers may not be confident specifically in you or may not be confident specifically in themselves or a combination of the 2. So micromanagement requires managing up. And how do you do that? That means you have to figure out what their focus is, what they need, right? Who their manager is and what they're asking for them. The more that you can be thoughtful about what they need and be responsive to that, the better it will be and the less micromanaging they'll do. So for example, I like to say, you know, micromanager, let's have a meeting once a week where I create the agenda and we kind of go through these things, and you can tell me if there's anything you want to go on the agenda or anything you want to follow up with me on, like taking a little bit more control so that they know you got it, right? Like you giving them updates on whatever project you're doing, and it's less they don't feel like you do. Now, some people, like I said, even if you manage up, they're going to continue to do so, but it will trigger you less if you are proactive versus reactive to their micromanagement. Looking for resources to brush up on basic legal skills. I've been doing a lot of quasi-legal work that doesn't require traditional legal writing, and would like to improve my legal writing skills. So there's tons of resources here. First of all, there's books. Love Strunk and White, love Barry Garner in terms of writing experts. But there's also, if you're a member of the State Bar, they have how to write writing articles. There's tons of CLEs on writing. There's a couple that are coming up at the beginning of this year from the New York City Bar. And of course, MBBA will always be putting out content. So there's things that you can do. So do those. Also, I have a friend who was trying to do something similar. What she did was she went back to some law school text and wrote out like sample memos about different fact patterns that had come up in exams, and used that to help with her writing. So again, it's practice makes perfect when it comes to writing. And don't think about perfection, think about getting better. Okay, so use some of those. How do you not feel guilty by setting boundaries and saying no? When you don't set boundaries and you say yes when you don't want to, you're not honoring yourself, you're not serving yourself, and in the end, how do I say this without sounding terrible? In the end, it's about you. Like if you don't show up in the way that you want to show up, then you're not helping anybody. Like it doesn't matter if you don't say no, right? So to the extent that you're trying to be better yourself, to increase your impact on the world, it makes sense to say no to things that don't serve you. It makes sense to say, that's actually not something that I think I'm going to be doing. And so because of that, here's a couple of people who you might want to reach out to, or, you know, come back to me in 6 months, or I just don't want to do it. And then they have to manage it. Don't worry about feeling bad. Why is it better for them to, you be focusing on them feeling bad rather than yourself? Prioritize yourself. You are your best you, as Toni Morrison would say. And you can only be your best you if you prioritize yourself. Are there resources for finding your theme word online? Yes, there are. If you Google like word of the year or annual theme word, you should be able to find some resources. Should you accept all LinkedIn invitations or be selective? Okay, one of my favorite questions. This is literally as individual of a decision as is who you date, right? So there are some people who use LinkedIn and use it like dating. So back when you could date and be all about, people would just date sometimes just because they want to get a meal. There's some people who date because they want a spouse. And the spectrum of all of that is similar, right? Some people will say they will connect with anybody because they just want a robust network. Other people will connect with folks specifically because they want a network that is of experts, of people who are in a certain area, and will really think each person, how are they adding value? Some ways that you can decide on what to select is looking to see if you have connections together. That helps me sometimes if I don't know who they are. Checking out their profiles to see if there's something of interest to you that makes sense. But if it doesn't and it just seems really spammy or salesy, then don't connect. The other thing is if you connect and they're not what you need them to be, you can also disconnect. My favorite. Okay, let's see. I want to go back real quick. So the other person was talking about dealing with toxic people. Another way of managing toxic folks too is managing yourself better, right? Is to understand your own triggers, put things in place to help yourself, like meditation, like, you know, really focusing on being your best you. Okay, another question. How to side hustle while still going hard in your career, both time challenges and bleeding over your brand? So I'll start with the first piece. So the side hustle in your career, if it's aligned in some way, that can be helpful, right? So where you have a subject matter expertise and you're consulting in that area, can be helpful, but you have to make sure that you are not going outside the boundaries of what you're supposed to be doing work-wise. Like that's the place where I see a lot of people get in trouble, where they're like, you know, I do dog law, and I also consult with people who have dogs, where folks are like, no, that doesn't work here. You can't do that. So think about it. But how do I want to answer this? If it doesn't make sense visually for you, like literally when you're looking at the two things and how they're connecting, I would say don't. Like, for example, I had a past client who, I won't tell you what she did, but she did a traditional day job, and then she did a very non-traditional night job. That's all I'll say. I was like, you can't, those things cannot cross over in this LinkedIn world. But there were other things. She started to also write romance novels, which connected to the night job, which was helpful. So I think be strategic. You can post content that has to do with what your side gig you want it to be, without it being outside of folks being like, well, why is Paula posting about this thing? You can still do it. We're three-dimensional for the most part, right? They're not, we don't have to be singular. We can have multiple interests. Zoom, camera on or no camera? Well, it depends. I love camera on. Why? Because I'm an extrovert and I love seeing people. But there are times when the face is not on and I want to be camera on, or I feel exhausted by being on camera all week. So I think unless it's required, and there are definitely some places that require it, think about where you're showing up at that time. But also remember, especially if you're a person of color, that oftentimes the way that racism and microaggression shows up within workspaces is that people will say, oh, that Black person did not show up. They're not a team player. Oh, that we expect X, Y, Z, and you don't do that. And it can bleed over into what they expect for you to actually do when it shouldn't. But, that's some of the way that microaggressions and discrimination are showing up in workplaces because of the off Zoom. But on the same time, people are also making assumptions about our backgrounds. So bias shows up there too. So we really have to be very thoughtful about what we want to portray and really have a setup that shows what we want and how we want, right? So like, remember at the beginning of the quarantine when folks are like, oh, I can't get my hair done, I can't do anything. People were wearing head wraps and changing their hair, et cetera. I was wearing a wig because I was like, I can't have nobody come in and braid my hair. And all of those things reflect on your brand and how people perceive you. So you should do them strategically. And I'm not saying that a change in look is not an appropriate thing. Of course, you can do whatever you need to, but when we can't walk into somebody's office, when we can't connect and meet people in the way that we wanted to before, Zoom or whatever platform you're using is the only way we can do so. So having your camera on when it makes sense, makes sense. Okay, so I think, let's see. Okay, good. I'm glad people are sharing other resources. Let me see, what else? Any other questions? No. All right, so everyone, you will be getting, a raised hand. So put in the chat what you need from me with the raised hand, and I will address whatever it is. For those of you who had registered ahead of time, you will receive resources to help you go through this process, as well as my favorite resource that I've been using every year, which is the Year Ahead resource. It helps you to do a very deep dive into how you were and how you want to be. And I'll be sending the link to this to you as well and the website. But this is powerful. Like, the first part of this takes 3 hours to do, which is why I'm not finished yet. But I have been like just in a space of like in awe of just how resilient I actually am, and you all actually are, where I had been beating myself up on some of the things that I didn't get to do. It helps to kind of walk through it and then do really in-depth planning. So like I said, I'm very, very, very honored that you spent this time with me to really think about how to get yourself to a better place. I'm glad that you use the chat to connect with each other. And as always, remember that we all we got. And so to the extent that you recall that, make sure we have each other, make sure that you support each other. And I love you. So thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Connect with me. Let me know how I can help. Bye. I miss everybody in person. Happy New Year to you too. Bye, everyone. Okay. Thank you. Look at all these nice notes. Thanks. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.